Wait a minute, something changed here. Okay, I spent a lot of the morning outside working on trying to get the transfer case skid plate up, but it's getting warm, so I figured I'd do a little bit inside. What I've got here is the hood cowl. It goes behind the hood, and all the vent and stuff. Air intake for the ventilation is underneath here. If you'll notice, it is no longer shiny black anymore. What I'm doing here is prepping for the Raptor liner because, kind of like the POR15, it can't stick to a shiny surface, a gloss surface. So I had to sand off all the clear coat. I've still got probably a little more work to do on this piece and a lot more work to do on that piece. But let me show you something else I've been working on. Okay, and then I did the windshield frame, and same thing, kind of sanded it down. There were a few spots with just a touch of surface rust, so I did give them a quick treatment with the Rust-Oleum primer, the Rust Reformer primer that I've talked about in the past. But this thing, before I Raptor line it, I'll flip it over, do the same for any rust on the inside, which I think there probably is some. Yeah, I can feel some right down in here on that seam. It's pretty common, but it's thankfully not too bad. But, and then I will need to tape off and plastic off all the glass, because I think Raptor liner on the glass would probably be the end of the glass. So, other things I've gotten done today. I did get the steering shaft off of this with much abuse. And so that is ready to go in for core or scrap or something. Maybe someone can work that over and make it nice. Maybe I'll keep it and open it up and see if I can replace the seals and get it as a nice backup or something. It is not on the new one yet because I have it inside cleaning it up a little bit. Other things, I got the transmission skid plate, the transfer case skid plate, back up under the vehicle, holding the transfer case and transmission back up in place. Biggest problem, 3 of the nutserts, which are kind of like a nut that is, I don't even know how to describe a nutsert. It's a nut that you can put in from the outside and then crimp it down, kind of. But 3 of them broke free, spun loose, so I have to figure out about getting 3 more. Right now I've got 3 of the 6 bolts holding this thing up. Aside from that, I got in the bar pin eliminators for the rear shocks. Now they make them for the front lower as well, because bar pins aren't exactly the easiest thing to deal with on a trail. But these will give me a little more stretch in my shocks, make them much easier to get to once the tub's on. Because otherwise I'd have to come up here, since the original nuts that were welded to the frame got cut off by a previous shop that didn't know what they were doing very well when they were dealing with rust. Maybe there's a better way to do it, I don't know. I'd have probably done the same thing. But I wasn't a fan of much of any of their work. They're closed now. What I would suggest is, if you have a shop doing Jeep work for anything aftermarket, off-road, etc., go to someone reputable, like, for example, Allpro, Auto, and Offroad really know their stuff in Lansing, Michigan. I'll put a link to them, their YouTube, in the comments below, or in the description below. These bar pin eliminators, I got the 2 on the rear mounted. I haven't ordered any for the front because honestly that's something I can access fairly easily because they are the lowers. So if I ever want to do that, I can do that later. So I've got the windshield already. I've just got to tape and plastic it so that I don't spray on the glass or the inside. I have the hood cowl, which is the piece that goes right behind the hood here, between the hood and the windshield. That's all ready to be sprayed with the Raptor liner. I need to get this ready now. And there's my conundrum. This is the name of my Jeep, Libertatum aut mortem. It's Latin for liberty or death. You'll notice that the Libertatum is centered around the cross because that's kind of the point of my Jeep, is using what God's given me for His glory. And so Libertatum or liberty or death, Libertatum aut mortem, is kind of based on Romans 8, where Paul points out that we were set free from the law of sin and death and put under the law of the Spirit. And I guess my problem here is that this has been the name of my Jeep. It's been on the side of the hood, on both sides of the hood, for quite some time. It started some conversations. And well, the thing is, if I peel it off and put the Raptor liner on, stickers will not stick to a bed liner, so I won't be able to put it back on. If I leave it on, I may end up screwing up the Raptor liner because I'm going to have to tape over all this and then, before it's dry, peel up all these letters, and I don't think I can manage that. So, what I'm leaning at right now is trying to find another place to put the name. The whole body is going to be covered in Raptor liner, it won't stick. And I don't typically have my hardtop on except during the wintertime. What do you guys think? Does anyone have any ideas as to where I put the name, how I install the name, how I do this? Leave a comment below and tell me what you think. In the meantime, I'm going to get started on sanding all this down, and I think I am going to start peeling these off. If you've never peeled a sticker off before, off of a vehicle, the decals and whatnot, it seems difficult just trying to grab and whatnot, but I'll tell you, a heat gun works wonders. Spray the heat gun on it for a while, the sticker starts to warm up, the glue gives way, and you can just peel it off like it's not even glued on. So I'm going to get to work on that, and just want to say goodbye to my decal. I had this custom made from a shop out west somewhere. Taking the clear coat off. Don't want to take the paint off because there's a nice primer seal there with the metal already. I'm sure there are going to be some spots where I get a little too deep. And I'll throw down a primer there, but for the most part I'd like to keep the current prime and just take the clear coat off so that the Raptor liner will stick. You can see here where there was a sticker, where the stickers were, you can kind of see how it's still showing up through, or like this down here was really bad. And that is just a little bit of that residue left over, so I gotta sand a little more there. That might be where I end up needing to lay down a new primer, we'll see. And there she is, all scuffed up, ready to go. I will be taping off the Poison Spider hood louvers. I'm not going to Raptor line those because it's fairly new metal, it's still clean, rust free, but I just think maybe heat would dissipate out them better if they're not covered in a Raptor liner, so I'm going to leave them. If you remember from the last video, I've got to replace those torque boxes, those things, because of all that rust, as well as pieces of the actual body that are rusted out. So up here, you'll see that this torque box is ready to go in. The piece has been welded in. It was one of my first welds, so I'm not showing that because it was done with the absolute cheapest AC flux core welder that you could possibly get. So it's definitely, and by someone who's never welded before or never even been taught to weld. So definitely not worth something worth showing, but it is actually in a spot that's kind of sandwiched between a bunch of other stuff that'll be welded together. So I'm not too horribly worried about the structural integrity of it, but I am a little bit. But what you see here is actually the torque box that's all bolted in place, kind of clamped down in several spots. This one was fun. I couldn't figure out how to get through that hole with a clamp, so I ended up finding one that has a screw, and I took the head off and then stuck the clamp through and then screwed the head back on. But I have a friend who knows how to weld, who will hopefully be coming to help do all these plug welds. Plug welds are simulation of a spot weld, whereas a factory has full access and they have a tool that just reaches both sides and melts it all down and creates a spot weld. A plug weld is a auto body shop's imitation of a spot weld. So that's what those holes are for, and hopefully we'll have this one done soon and I'll be able to flip it over and get to work on that side. Okay, so my buddy Greg just came over, and he has a much nicer welder than I have, a good 220 millimatic, and he was able to do really good welds on this torque box. And since that's more structural, I did not want to mess with that with my cheapy little Harbor Freight AC flux core welder. I'm really glad I didn't, because these look way better than my welds. I will have to go over all this with a good primer. I'm waiting, actually, I think, for the acid etch primer from Raptor Liner from U-Pole, the company that makes Raptor Liner. But as you can see here, we've got the plug welds, simulated spot welds all along it. We've got some good looking weld beads in certain spots, and this side is done. So now we flipped it over and the thing is backwards, but I got some more work to do. So I got here, you can see this torque box is junk. I will have to get out the spot weld cutter and cut this one off again like I did the other one, so you get to see a little bit of that. And I've got a lot of rust here to cut out and fabricate up a new plate to put basically everything from here over. But first, I've got some stuff to get off this side: the inner fender well, the charcoal canister and stuff back here for the evap system. This little aftermarket trim piece that's riveted on, that'll be fun. I think I may leave the antenna. I had pulled the hinge off the other side, but now I'm kind of wishing I hadn't. I might just leave this one on and just put a little tape over the screw heads, and then tape the antenna. But I've got a lot of work to do here, so I'm gonna get started. Okay, now I think everything other than the rust, the clear coat, and the scrapyard markings, everything else that I want to strip off this thing, I believe is off now. So I guess the next step is to cut out that rust, cut off this torque box, and cut off that rust. Making progress. So I think that's it for today. Jen's inside making dinner. It's about 6 o'clock in the evening. It's kind of early, but we got a lot done today. While I was downstairs with Greg and working on other things, Jen was upstairs working on a project that she'll have a video here for soon. In the meantime, I got finished up with what we were doing today, and some of what you've seen in this video was actually yesterday and the day before. But I've also started on a little bit of the next video, so stay tuned and catch some previews of what's to come. If you ever watch Demolition Ranch or Off the Ranch, Vet Ranch, any of Matt Carricker's channels, you'll know he has a theme: and do a little something to make a step towards your goal every single day. And you may not always reach your goals in the time that you want to, but you'll be just that much closer. And that's kind of our goal here. We're doing kind of the same, trying to make a little progress every day. Try it out. It makes a world of difference in your mental state, in your state of reaching your goals. Just feels good. Thanks for watching, y'all. The Lord bless you and keep you.